Hello, it's Kelly Timecat again. Today I'm going to talk about The Social Dilemma 2020. It's a documentary by Jeff Orlowski Yang, and it's about the problems that social media has created for society during the last 10 years. One really interesting thing about the film was how most of the interviewees are insiders who have worked in social media, so they're actually criticizing in a way their own work. They're explaining very honestly some of the problems that their jobs involved actually creating, and it's stuff like the fact that algorithms monitor every moment of what we do in great detail. So when you're scrolling through Facebook or Twitter or even your own webmail account, when you stop, when you pause and you look at a link, the amount of time you stay on that particular part of the screen is monitored. Everything's monitored. So much big data is collected about all of us, and so they get a very good idea of what kind of person each of us is. So it's a great way to sell advertising, but also a way of manipulating us. And one of the consequences, one of the most drastic things one of the commentators made was that it could eventually lead to civil war. And that's a rather terrifying prospect. The fact that there's such great divides building up in our society. Democracy has been challenged in so many ways that there's actually been so many examples of political interference that's been allowed. So there are some huge changes, some enormous things that need to be done. There's an imperative for all of us to effect change to the social media model that we currently have, and the real world events that can come out of social media. There are a lot of examples where people have been hounded and bullied because of what they've written online. Often it's been innocuous. One example I can think of that isn't spoken about in this film, there was an article in the New York Times written by John Ronson about how a relatively comedic tweet, at least that's how the writer intended it to be, got blown out of all proportions. There's plenty of examples also given in this article about other dreadful consequences that have occurred because of misinterpretations often of what the original poster actually meant. So anyway, that's one level, not covered a lot in this film, but there are a lot of huge problems. There is a beneficial side, of course, to social networking. It's the reason most of us want to stay in touch online, and it's been really useful during all the lockdowns of COVID to be in touch with friends, keeping in touch with old friends, school friends, university friends, people you've known from years back. That's great. But whilst it is a tool, one quote I remember well is that when bicycles were invented in the 19th century, they didn't cause a huge amount of damage to the world. And that's what a benevolent tool is. But the kind of things that social media has caused is a big problem. We've only seen some of the consequences so far. One of the ideas that I thought an interviewee made that I thought was really great was that if we could adopt a carrot and stick approach, if it was possible to levy a tax that was calculated by the amount of data that these multinational companies collected, that would provide a disincentive for collecting and storing so much of our personal information. Because in a sense, it's a public bad rather than a public good. So taxing it, helping reduce the harm, could be a good way forward. I thought it was a really thought-provoking, excellent film. There's there's a lot of follow-up. At the end, it actually mentioned follow us on social media. Of course, just kidding. But there is a website where they suggest you can read more about actions to take. And it's something I'm going to be looking at. I may cover this further in another video at some point. So please let me know what you think. And as usual, thanks for watching. Bye.